Yeah, it's for questions. Yeah, sure. Give me a 10 and a 5, that'll work. All right, I'm up.
I just made a presentation that talks about our strategy and has that information.
I'll go.
I'd love to figure out how we can amplify.
Sure. Yeah, because it's a priority for the one for facts concept, and my organization, it's imperative for my leadership. So I work in the MS4 arena, and permit really so it's not on my radar, but we do a lot of metrics and tracking and reporting, and I started looking at our
There's lots of room up front if anyone wants to sit in the front of the classroom today.
I've been sitting down my classes 25 years.
we're already starting to work with outreach and translation
That's the
services, working with neighborhood and community services.
All right, is everyone starting to trickle in and find a seat? Again, there's some seats up in the front as well. Feel free to jump up here. Our next speaker is Tom Beltroni from HDR. He's going to be talking about creating a stormwater park over in Interstate.
Yeah. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Umi, for that great, really nice setup there. I just got it right on the tee, and now I can get into a project, right? And thanks for everybody for sticking around to the bitter end, right? I think this is it for me, the last presentation of the day. This is like the second presentation, or maybe the second or third conference I've been to where I've been the last. And I think it's intentional at this point. My idea is, let's bring in like a little mini bar as the last presenter of the day. Why isn't that the thing at conferences where like you just wheel in a mini bar, everybody will show up. It's the last presentation of the day. The Q&A might go a little off the rails, but I think that's a good idea. I don't know. What do you think, Tom? Do you think WEF would get behind that? Yeah? All right, let's try for it next year. So I'm Tom Beltroni. I'm out of the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania office. I'm here to talk to you about a highway cap project that we built in HDR Health Design in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And one thing I think this morning, sitting in the conversation with the EPA, Andrew Sawyer, I believe his name was, the gentleman mentioned how important it was to consider the history and fabric of the community that you're working in. And I couldn't agree more with that statement, because that really, I think, with this project here, I'm going to go over a lot of the history of Pittsburgh, how this project came to be, how the history of the highway construction displaced several communities, residents, thousands of residents to create this highway, and how Pittsburgh is going about addressing that. So I think everything today with equity is timely, and I hope this project at least gives an example of a way to maybe repair that damage that's been done. So just a quick overview. Again, we'll talk about highway cap parks. What are these things? Hopefully, I don't know if people even, sometimes you drive under a highway or over a highway or walk over a highway, you don't even know they're there. So we'll talk about those. Again, we'll talk about the history of Pittsburgh and this project and this crosstown boulevard, I-579. Community engagement, important, critical component to this project. And then we'll go into some design stuff. We'll talk about the park cap structure itself. How do you build a structure like this? And then stormwater design. The stormwater on this stuff is pretty neat. We'll get into that and go into some photos. But again, this equity issue. The highways were a product of the 1950s. I think a lot of us know that. We know the history of the highways that were built in America. Almost 40,000 miles were built in over just a couple decades. People call it like one of the modern marvels of humanity, is that we built all these highways like in a blink of an eye compared to like what we think of them today. I think I saw some stats if you piled up all the aggregate and all the asphalt of all the highways that were built in America during that time, it'd be like 700 Great Pyramids of Giza that it would equate to, all that aggregate and fill material. But one of the things that we're beginning to realize with that construction is, especially in our urban areas, is we displaced almost 500,000 homes and just force it. And a lot of times these people weren't even compensated for that removal. And this was a graphic out of the United States Department of Transportation 2017 Beyond Traffic Report 2045, which is a really, really great historical and important document that gives you a background of our highway system. But this was a graphic directly out of that report and a quote that, I won't read that quote, you can read it on your own, but gives you a sense of what happened during that time frame constructing these highways. And these are some clips, some just more recent newspaper articles that have been in Washington Post and in Bloomberg, and this bottom one is from the Department of Transportation Reconnecting Communities pilot program, which is aiming to address this issue at a national and federal level. So highway cap parks. Why do these things fit into this discussion? Well, one way is let's cover up these things, right? Let's put it in a park. Let's connect those communities with a vibrant green space. And this has been happening actually in our country. I actually went down a major rabbit hole finding these things and looking at these on Google Maps, and I like seeing when they were trying to find out when they were built. Pittsburgh's is on there at 2021. That's the one we'll talk about. But the most recent one is in Denver. I think it's called like the Highway Park. They could have come up with something a little more original than that, but I think that's what it's called. And maybe they're still working on the name. I don't know. But the big digs over there, that's the one that's like the grand behemoth that everyone knows. Like that was like super expensive. But Seattle, if anyone here is from Seattle, hats off. If I had a hat on, I'd take it off. You guys are like the undisputed champs of highway parks, highway park caps. Like this one, if I ever go to Seattle, and I want to go to Seattle very soon, I will be going to the Freeway Park. This is one of the first ones, 1976. It's got these amazing evergreen forests on top of this, right on this highway. And I think that's the convention center in the back. I'm not sure. If anyone's from Seattle here? Am I saying all these things right? Okay, thanks for fact checking me. So these are ones in design. Hey, Kansas City, woohoo! Yeah, baby, look at this one in Kansas City. It's going in. They're going to build this for the World Cup. I guess the World Cup's coming here, right, Tom? That's what I've been told. Okay, I'm not a big soccer guy, but anyway, pretty awesome, right? Look at this thing. So they're going to be covering up the highway. This is more a downtown revitalization project, not so much an equity project. But nevertheless, safety projects are going to be involved with this. You know, it's going to be a lot safer corridor for people getting through here and walking and biking. And from what I see from the concepts, tons of stormwater management, which is awesome. So here's all the ones that are in planning that I found. Lots of projects out there in planning. Probably about 20 of them that I could find. The ones with the diamond with the dot in them are ones that were awarded by the DOT, by the Connecting Communities Pilot Program grant winners. And you look at the size of these park projects, and the cost of some of these are these are big, massive, game-changing projects for these communities by covering up these caps. I will be excited to see where these grant projects go and and the next round, there's another round coming out. They just released the NOFO on the Reconnecting Communities like last month or something like that. And more of these, I'm sure people are going to be applying. I know Cincinnati. I've heard Cincinnati wants to do one, and so I know there's all out there about everyone's trying to do this. So let's talk Pittsburgh. That's why I'm here. That's where I'm from. So let's talk about this community in Pittsburgh. If anyone's ever been to Pittsburgh, this is the Golden Triangle area. It's right in the heart of downtown. This is an image from 1939. You have the three rivers. They kind of meet here. I couldn't fit them all on the screen, but the two rivers are flowing this way, and the point's down here, and then the stadiums are over here. But generally, this is where downtown Pittsburgh is. And this is a view of 1939. You see really just a community here that lives right next door to a vibrant business district. And this community on the right here is what will be the topic of this discussion today. And this is the Lower Hill District. And in 1957, part of urban renewal, you guys know the whole story, that, hey, we want to fix up and get rid of all these dilapidated homes. Let's tear them and let's build a highway. And that's what happened in 1957. Here's what it looked like shortly thereafter in the 60s. This is the Civic Arena, where we had a NBA team there, or a basketball team there at once, and a hockey team. And there's the hole that we'll be trying to cover up. That's what it looks like in 2021. Here's a shot of this community, and just to give you I love this shot of just showing you the dense urban fabric that was here in this community. Pay attention to the blue lines. This is 8,000 residents, 100 acres roughly, 1,300 structures, and 400 businesses, which were primarily Black-owned, Jewish-owned, Jewish community and black community primarily. And two structures here those are the only ones that stand today, unfortunately. And it's tragic. It really is what happened there. Considering the history of this community there's so much amazing history with this lower hill, and it's heartbreaking reading that it was just bulldozed, and it's tragic. It was the Kansas City jazz epicenter, in between Chicago and New York. All the greats came through there. Some of the best clubs that are on even in all of America were in Pittsburgh. It was the home of August Wilson, the two-time Pulitzer-winning playwright, who wrote all of his plays around this neighborhood. You go and read some, or even see some of the new movies with Denzel Washington in them that are all August Wilson plays, are all based on this neighborhood. And it was tragically just bulldozed. And it all goes back to redlining. It really is if there's one thing that you can point back to is this issue right here. This is downright racist. That's all it blatantly was, and it's a scar on our country. So they want to redevelop this neighborhood with this new park. Let's build this back up. Let's try to take that abandoned property that's just nothing there. We need housing. We know we need housing in Pittsburgh. Rents have been rents in my time being there. I've lived there 15 years. They've gone astronomically. I had the luxury of buying a home and protecting myself from that in Pittsburgh. Not everyone does. So we need more rental properties, and the idea is to make a mixed-use development. This is the most recent rendering of this building is right now being constructed. That's the headquarters of First National Bank. And part of that deal is that they worked with the community leaders, and they said, we want affordable housing, including, so some of that is, you see that in the background. Back in here is, I believe 1 out of every 5, as last I heard, 1 of every 5 residential units is earmarked for affordable housing. I think, and it's set some medium household income, 60% or something. I forget the exact number, but that's the idea. And I love how they're going to make this green. They're going to connect this new cat park, which we're going to talk about now, and really just extend the green into this really gorgeous, at least from a rendering, green space that just goes right up the heart of the Hill District, which hopefully can be a game changer for this community. So community engagement, first stop. Going, obviously, this neighborhood, they have the right to be skeptical of any new development that's going to happen in there. So part of the thing that you need to get in there and do is you need to listen. You need to get in there, talk about what they care about, what they want to see with the parcels that are available, and what they want to see with this park. What do they envision as part of this park if it's going to be constructed? And this was, I wasn't a part of these, full disclosure, I wasn't part of these meetings, so I can't really speak to them firsthand. I can only talk about what people told me, but this was our project manager. He was there every single meeting with every single table, making sure that they were listened and heard. And I told that these were several meetings over several courses of months, making sure that they understood what was important to them. And these are the common themes that came out of those meetings: is water, green infrastructure, sustainability. They wanted a destination that was family friendly, that included their music and celebrated their history of music in that community. A flexible space, and lastly, this is a connection. This is an important connection between our downtown Pittsburgh and this new community that hopefully we can that build and grow together. So as part of this, a bunch of whole concepts were developed, got feedback on each of these concepts. Finally, they went with a final plan, which I'll talk about right now. But first, let's talk about this cap structure. I'm not a structures guy. Anything I say here, don't hold me to it. But I'm going to try my best. The bridge guys coached me up, and this is the opening that we're trying to fill in here. And one thing I've been told about when building a bridge is they tend to like them flat. They like to have the elevations equal on each side, right? But when you look at this opening, the right side is certainly higher than the left side. Now from a stormwater guy, I'm like, great, that gives me some topography to move this stuff, right? I can get it around, but for them, no, they like things flat. But that was one thing they needed to make sure that this was removed and made level, apparently. And the way it worked was they built three bridge structures back side by side, and they put new piers in to support those. Again, that's as much as you're getting out of me when it comes to bridges. The stormwater, I know they needed to protect it from stormwater. So what they did was they put a waterproof membrane on top of this structure as they were building it at the end, and then they put a protective concrete slab on top of it as well to make sure that even less stormwater can get through. And then they backfilled behind the structure and then put the green space on top of it for us to go to work on stormwater. So let's talk about the stormwater design. This is a combined sewer shed. What you see here is the project site at the bottom. Sorry for those that can't see it, but it straddles two watersheds, two urban sewer sheds that are combined. This is a complex network of pipes. I don't expect you to understand this. The point being is that it's a spaghetti network of pipes, and it's a CSO system that the red is combined sewer, and what you look at down here, they're all separate storm pipes in blue. And if you zoom in on that area, our project area is, it's all impervious, right? It's 85% impervious. And the idea, and you look at these are all highway separate storm pipes that were built as part of the highway construction, right? So essentially what we're trying to do here is just create a big cap on top of those, right? Don't let the water get in them anymore. This is just a big green roof, a big giant green roof when you think about it. And you look at the impervious, we still have a lot of impervious left. We have a lot of, we left this parcel here that is like a parking lot right now, but there's talks about making that into something else. But we have a lot of plazas and a lot of concrete, but that's where we have these stormwater management at the bottom, which we'll talk about now. So when I look at this site, and again, this is a sloped site. It ever so gently rolls downhill. When you look at it from left to right, I like to look at it in three sections. You have the top section, which is almost like this is on like existing ground, and what's up here, what's in here is like your surface drainage channels, and I'll show you some pictures of those. And more of your big, deep-rooted shade trees, and this is where our plaza area is, where it'll be a cooler space to hang out, bigger trees, hopefully, once these things grow to maturity. And from there, water will then drain off into this cap structure, which has our lawns, big green roof areas, has more of those trench drain structures, which I'll show you, and then we also have some pre-treatment here. And then finally, at the bottom here, on the existing ground all the way to the right, there's rain gardens. All of the water that goes from one section to the next section to the next section is treated on these series of rain gardens, which we'll get into here in a bit. And that's where you infiltrate, obviously. We want to put salt-tolerant plants. This is a cold weather climate. And that's where we tie in back to the combined sewer as well, down here. Anything we can't treat in the rain gardens goes back to the combined sewer. So, grading plan. This is the best way I could help explain this without actually flying you guys there and walking you to the site. But let's look at this from top down, and this is the final grading plan. What you see here is this back area in gray. This area could not be managed by stormwater, but This plaza area right here is this trench drain system that I previously referred to. So all the water in this upper area actually funnels in towards this neat little trench in the center of the plaza where people are meant to gather. That's where water funnels into these trench drains. And then and also the water from the runoff from these this mixed use area that's to be determined yet also runs off into the lawn area on the next site. So that's the first site. And it's really, the top site is really just all about conveyance. There's really no treatment going on there. It's really just getting it to the next section. So you see the lawn area. This, if you remember the trench drain, these actually continue on down through a separate set of trench drains that open up into this cool little cascading waterfall feature. It gives people the chance to interact with the water and see as it twists and turns its way through the cap structure. And eventually it goes into this really cool little vortex chamber that the water spirals around it, and it does a really good function of a pre-treatment. It gets a lot of debris and trash, gets it in that vortex. Rest of the water runs off into these lawn areas, which is essentially just a large green roof. Here's a cross section of that middle section and of the green roof we're talking about. The highways are speeding along down here, going into the screen. The highway's ever so slightly pitched to the north. So this is north this way. So as water infiltrates into the lawn areas, it goes through a rock layer and collects into a 6-inch underdrain pipe. That underdrain pipe is then sent along with the vortex into our rain gardens at the bottom of the site. So you think of this as like a connected system. Whatever can't be managed in the green roof gets a second chance to get infiltrated into the rain gardens. And these rain gardens also receive underdrains from the bridge abutments as well. I don't know how much water is behind those, but the bridge guys felt they needed them. Hey, all right, we'll put them in. All right, let's put more water into our rain gardens. That's cool. And then the retaining wall, there's a bunch of retaining walls here. One thing about this bottom site, it's terraced. So if you go out there, it's terraced on several levels. So this is the upper terrace. This is like a second set terrace, and this is a third. So these are steps going down. And water as one rain garden fills up, it cascades into the next. Same as the next. Eventually, the overflow ties in at a manhole at the corner there, and ties in back to the combined sewer. So we did infiltration testing. We got urban results. They were all over the map. As you guys, everyone probably seen this before. He goes 2 steps over, it's great. 1 step over this way, it's not so good. But it did infiltrate there. We did get some infiltration. One site saw 0.375 inches per hour. The other saw 6. I'm not sure what was happening there, but that's a little high for Pittsburgh even. So the rain garden, this is a detail of the rain garden. We decided no under drains. We felt that the infiltration tests were good. Plus, it's also important to note that that these rain gardens were put on top of new fill. So this is all new fill that was brought in, placed on top of the rain gardens even. So you're talking about fresh soil and as well as stormwater soil for the rain gardens. Important to note, and what I really like about this design, if you're doing terraced systems, use gabions. Gabions, I think, are a great idea for having terraced rain gardens because water can flow through these gabions, and they also stop any trash and debris from getting into. So this is where the steps and stairs are. Water can flow through the gabions and get in that way if it needs to. So volume reduction. We talked about the post-construction land use and how much is impervious, how much is pervious. Just quickly walk you through the stats of how this all shakes out and how much is managed. So of the 1.9 acres of impervious, 0.4 of it goes to the rain garden, and an acre of it is actually managed by the green roof. And there's about a half an acre that either couldn't be managed because it was sloping off the site, or we could the way the grading finally worked, we just couldn't get it into either one of those systems. The pervious area, Of the 1.1 pervious, 0.1 of it is the rain gardens, 0.8 of it is the green roofs, and there's like 0.2 of miscellaneous like planter boxes around the site. If you take that storage volume of those two systems and divide it by the impervious area captured, you're looking at about a 1.9 inch rain event for the rain gardens that get direct runoff from impervious, and about a 5.8 inch rain event for the green roof, which is awesome, like, right? Because that's almost like it's almost a 2-year event. That's our design permit, really, and for the rain gardens, and almost a 100-year event for the green roof. But when you compare this to the pre, right? You compare that to just a straight up highway with nothing in there. We had a 0.5 acres of unmanaged stormwater off, so we're really managing, compared to the pre, 2.1 acres of impervious areas being managed of the previous impervious acreage on this site. Peak flow reduction. We talk, I don't know how many people have been talking about continuous simulations. It's what I think is the right way to go about looking at some of these systems and how they perform. It's part of the equation, certainly. Design storms are great. Individual static storms are fine. But also looking at continuous design storm simulations, we had a swim model of the site, pre and post. And it's debate whether you should run all of this hourly data. Maybe you should only do the most recent decade or the most 2 recent decades to make sure you're not baking in some of these older storms. And that's a fair point too, but this is just all of them. And what I like to show here, basically with this plot, is each dot is a storm event in that record. And the pre is the orange, and the post is the blue. And if you trend that out, you can see there's a clear reduction in the model. Now, this is just a modeling exercise that hasn't been calibrated to any rain event, to any data that we can monitor on site. But the point being is, if you break these up into buckets, the percent reduction in peak flows are very good. Construction. Let's look at how this thing was constructed. This was them digging out behind the abutments to install the bridge. Pretty awesome work, and they're installing here micropiles to just basically make sure that this existing structure is protected. Anything new with this new bridge is not being added extra weight on the previous bridge abutments. There's a pictures of the piers going in to support the new bridges. Here's the massive crane that was there for about a year or so, putting the bridge spans in. Here's the waterproofing and concrete protection that was installed on top of the bridge. And you'll notice, I think this is just pointing out here the importance of making sure that membrane is watertight, even along the sides of the bridge structure. An important component of the park, and I think as part of the community discussion, was these history walls that we decided to put in, acknowledging the wrongs that were done on this to the Lower Hill District over the years. The park is named after Frankie May Pace, who was a long respected community activist in the 50s who championed for and tried to defend the Lower Hill District. I don't know how she would feel to this day, this park being named in her honor. I can't obviously say that. I mean, she's not around anymore, but I think it was an important honor to show that, hey, let's acknowledge what happened here. Let's not try to sweep it under the rug and say, look at a beautiful park that we have here, everything's fine now. No, that's not how it works. So I think this history wall and at the plaza, right at the main gate, right where people come into this park, was a great idea. Here's the site here's a picture of the trench drains and the swirl vortex system. Here's the terraced rain gardens and the gabions that were put in. Lots of educational signage was also incorporated into this park to teach young park users about the importance of water. What is a rain garden? This is Keisha, who's all throughout the site talking about different environmental aspects, not only the rain gardens, but also plantings that are there. And there's actually a music area for kids to play, like percussion instruments, talking about that kind of stuff too. It's really fun. And here's a quick before and after of what you had before with this site and what's there now. And we're hoping it's a catalyst for much greater things in the Hill District in Pittsburgh. And yeah, it's the beginning of a new chapter. Really, hopefully, is the story here. So just key takeaways. This is the last slide. Understanding your community history. Could not agree more this morning with that point. Get into community, listen, be adaptable. Don't talk, just listen a lot of times, you know, and that's, in general in life, that's just a great idea. I find, at least with my wife, that works. Just shut up and listen for a second. Don't say anything, don't suggest anything, just listen, right? It works. It's a good strategy. Gain trust and build support. That's what you really need to do. That's what it's about. And leverage these funding opportunities that are out there and make sure people are aware that they're out there too. And the resources that are out there by the EPA. This President Biden's Justice 40 is a great example. High visibility sites, man, this is a once in a generation opportunity. Don't cheap out. Do it good. Oh my God, this is a chance to actually put something with great amenities that can make a difference. And this is, if there's ever a time for public education and maybe springing a little bit more for a history wall or a plaza or artistic trench drains, this is the time to do it, in my opinion. Easier said than done, I'm not paying for it, but I guess my taxpayer dollars are, in a way. But anyway, the point being is, I think these high visibility sites are key ways to make sure that there's community like pride in the project. And then integrate stormwater with the open space and with maintenance in mind, right? I think we all know this, we're all stormwater professionals. Maintenance first. How do we get this thing cleaned? How do we make sure the plants are maintained? How do we make sure they don't die off? Plant tolerant, simple plant tolerant pallets are, in my mind, the key to good maintenance. Is don't put a million different types of plants in there. Maybe pick 6. Make them easily identifiable for the maintenance crew to know which ones are weeds and which aren't. And that's the presentation and story of Pittsburgh. And I thank you all for sitting here to the end. And no, there's no mini bar. I tried, you know. But, thank you. Thanks, everybody. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to.
Okay, we are actually out of time.
Oh no. Okay.
But if anybody wants to hang around and ask some questions, please do. Otherwise, please visit the networking reception upstairs where you go. And there's some Kansas Cityans around, so if you have some barbecue questions, we are available.
I went wrong there, didn't I?
Huh? Yeah.
Okay. Sorry for keeping everybody late. No, I guess I didn't have good track of time there.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh, great question. Yeah. All right.
Hey Tom, see ya. How are you? Yeah. Good. I saw you come in earlier.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I met this morning.
Yeah, it's easy how it gets goes down.
Yeah, you kind of recovered from KC-Mo. Kind of recovered from I tell people it's not I said, you know, I just can't. I can't explain. It's just, you know, we don't understand.
Nice job.
Thank you. Before I left, I should have explained because we have a Stormwater. Well, you all think, you know, I've heard that we had it we're doing $70 million. Yes, but we are. You all think it's so what are they doing? Director of it's pretty tragic.
I'm going to see you tomorrow morning, I believe. Rob
Oh, are we sharing?
Yes, we're sharing. So So it's I'm sorry I disappeared. I got the note about reviewing all these, and I right when I was going for 3 weeks of travel. Yeah, it is. I just sent them. I mean, frankly, half of them I sent the same note at the beginning. Say what is your goal? As I said, but that's we seem to forget that writing presentation. I'll look forward to it.
back.
Oh, thank you.
See you in the morning.
Let's catch up.
Yeah, I'm gonna run up to the reception for a little bit. Are you heading out? All right.
You were there. Yeah. I should put Pittsburgh in the title.
So, I would be interested in talking to you about maybe project,
It's actually going to be here in the west.
I'd like to get your card as well.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'm a consultant, but we work with communities that are like so desperate to figure out how to apply for funding. They're like, there's so much funding out there, but we can't figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
Or we submit an application and it gets dismissed.
Please contact me. I was thinking
Well, I think they changed the scoring for brick, right?
This is the most common.
for the what, for bricks?
Didn't they change the scoring this year?
They have.
I don't. I only have no work.
Oh, well,
Okay.
just email me.
Well, I'll give you this. This is my UG. I don't have my UG,
okay.
so I'm also in no work.
Okay,
so.
perfect.
Yeah, a lot of it is.
Yeah, well, and that's something like.
And you're
a
in
lot-
DC?
Yeah, I'm in DC, yeah.
We should visit.
Yes, because we come out. We're
We'll be
the
there.
Missouri and
But it's something.
Affiliated Rivers Coalition.
Oh, okay.
And so we come out
Thank you.
and advocate for
Oh my gosh, it'd be great to visit.
projects. And so we really haven't gotten a chance to really meet with EPA while we're out there.
Right.
Because there's just so many departments and
Right, exactly.
stuff like that. But one of the
We have
things
more money than we've ever had before. We're like the
Yeah,
poor.
nailed it.
We meet with the Corps, and they're like, we don't even know how to spend this money. We don't have the
Well,
staff. We don't have
and
the.
then-
We don't have this. They are actually starting to do granting stuff. They've never done a grant.
Yeah, they're always doing technical.
Basically,
now they're
just-
doing grants. 'Cause
Yeah,
they can't-
and they're
they
like,
don't
we
have
don't
the
know
people.
how. Like their environmental infrastructure
Not have nothing.
has to be a grant program.
they
It's
have
the way it's
They
structured.
have money, but they don't have people to run it or.
And is this in your region? You're talking
I
about
actually talked to another,
Okay.
nationwide, but I talked to another district.
Okay.
We work a lot with the Kansas City district, but I talked to another district, and they said they're just like, we have to figure out how to even program this money because, they do work in-house. They're in-house
right.
engineering, and they're like, we don't have people to manage the consultants. We don't have we didn't budget this for consultants. We don't have the structure in place to hire all these additional consultants. And they're like, we have tons and tons of money to spend, and we don't know what we're going to do.
Well, they're also.
And they're sort of in
interagency
denial.
agreement.
Private, they're
Yeah.
having a good one.
Well, and other
They
agencies are
could give
asking.
money to us or other agencies like FEMA
Yeah.
who have that infrastructure, who have the, the processing.
Yeah.
With your residents.
Well, and they have a mechanism where they will agree, they have a local match, but you can use other federal agencies' funding for your local match
Exactly.
if the other agency agrees. So like if EPA said, this is a really at-need community, we're gonna pay that 35% out of our funding, we'll write an agreement with the Corps to say that
Yep.
we're willing to do it, then they will accept that. Otherwise, the local community has to come up with 35%.
Right.
How easy is that when you're an at-risk community?
And so what we've run into is we, and even our District Corps acknowledges, like, based on the tools out there, you guys you qualify.
Yeah.
As,
Easy.
Yeah.
You qualify.
You
Easy.
qualify. But they have not received the guidance on how to access the money.
So they don't know what to do.
So we're ahead of the game, actually.
Yeah,
Because we
so-
and I actually, we have a guy who just started 6 months ago in our Region 7 office, which
Yeah.
takes care of your area. And super smart, has stormwater experience, and he is very energetic about helping communities. And we were saying, like, we're looking for, like I said, we're hungry, like want to be like, we're hungry hippos, like please.
Yes,
tell us.
yes. Well, we will
I would love
be
to
your.
connect you. Yeah. I
Yeah.
would love to connect you also with them.
Yeah.
You know, to have because it's better to do that jointly, and figure out what next steps are. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That would be great.
That would be awesome.
Okay.
Great. Thanks for saying hi.
Yes, and I will.
I will
email
follow up
you
via
and-
email.
Thank you for coming
Cool.
to
Yeah.
the
Oh, no
conference.
problem.
Hi.
Hi.
Just wanted to introduce myself. I actually interact with Robbie and John Ferris.
Do you have regulations that, like water quality,
Okay, I don't know.
MS4?